Hello, I'm Libor Peltan from CZ.NIC, the developer of Node.dns, talking about authoritative operations again. The typical large-scale authoritative operation looks like this. In the top left corner, you can see the source of the truth. There is some where the underlying data form a DNS zone. And on the bottom right corner, there are the public-facing secondaries that are spread all over the globe and actually answer the client's queries. And between those are different servers that have different assigned specific tasks that they do. For example, the DNSSEC signer. And they don't have to really look like this, but this is the usual case. The zone contents and mostly the zone updates are handed over from one server to another. It can be done using the database backend, which is a common case for PowerDNS and really a fresh feature for Node.dns. But the most interoperable way to hand over those updates is the zone transfers. And if the zone is large and frequently updated, which is mostly the case, we really want that the zone transfers are incremental, which means that only the deltas are transferred, because transferring the whole zone every time would be painful. So in this talk, I will focus on the specific servers that perform the validation. And these are two types of them. The DNSSEC validator verifies that the DNSSEC signer have not done something wrong, for example, due to software error or misconfiguration. And the unsigned validator verifies that the source of truth has not done something wrong. For example, accidentally deleting half of the underlying data means half of the zone. So before we talk about them more, I would like to also state some requirements for those validators. So as I said, those validators should work with incremental zone transfers, both for input and for output. If the newest version of the zone is somehow broken, they should reject it and continue serving the previous last good version. And if the issue fixes itself in the subsequent update, they should resume to the operation with the newest version. So this is what I would expect from such validator. On the other hand, yes, some operators are desperate to validate at least something, and when it's not possible to fulfill those requirements, they, for example, use the after-the-fact validation, which means that the validator only is on the side of the pipeline. The pipeline goes regardless if it's good or wrong, but the validator at least detects that something has gone wrong, and the operator can at least panic. So yeah, in general, I would split the talk about two problems, and the first is calling external tools, because most of the tools that are ready for doing any kind of validation are external, which means that they are not built into any DNS server software directly. These are tools that need to be called somehow. And so we are facing the problem to handing over the incoming IXFR to the tool, and then after processing, handing the outcome of the validation further. So there are some available options for this. For example, I will talk about them in more detail later. NSD, previously in the separate CRE-DNS project, but now it's part of the NSD, uses a simple subprocess method. The newest version of Node.dns relies on separate validating daemon and mutual communication between the server and the validation script. And there also should be some cascade. Well, let's see next presentation. So for NSD in more detail, NSD architecture is really simple. Upon receiving any update to the zone, it launches a subprocess by system call and waits for the subprocess to terminate somehow. It can also hand over many arguments to this subprocess as in command line. Yeah, and this simple approach lets you do it really quickly. It has some disadvantages, it has some disadvantages. I had no time to discuss this. On the other hand, Node DNS architecture is more complex. Well, the configuration itself is not that complex, as you can see, but Node DNS expects that the validation script is running all the time, possibly in different container or as you might wish. And the running server notifies with dbus message the validating script about an expected validation event. And once the zone is validated, then the validating script using the control socket tells the daemon back if the validation succeeded or not. I have written an example bash script which does exactly this. It seems complex as I talked about it, but in the end, it even fits on the slide. And the other problem is what to validate. Regarding the unsigned validation, it's really up to the operators. The operators are really creative in thinking about what should be validated and what should not. But let's focus on the DNSSEC validation. We can validate either the contents of the zone themselves, for example, that the RR6 are correct signatures, that they are not expired, that the NSECs are complete and linked to each other. Or we can also validate the closest delegation, which means that the parent zone delegates correctly to our zone, that the DS records are corresponding to other DNS keys. We can also validate the trust chain up to the root, but I would argue that this is rather useless beyond the first delegation. So the validation tools, again, either validate inside the zone itself or validate by querying a single query and inspecting what happened during the query. So for the full zone DNSSEC validations, there are plenty of tools, but they all rely on the fact that the zone is first written on a textual zone file as a whole, which is a pain. There is and the alternative is that the validation is part of the DNS authoritative implementation. So it's not external. It can then access both the old version and the new version and the change set between them. So it can really do the validation fully and incrementally at the same time. But there is only one implementation of this, which is not DNS. You can also validate by querying something through a special instance of validating resolver, which is actually what you would target, because the resolvers will ask you in the end. But there is not enough error description and you might not catch everything. The same is for Delph, which is the same, just more aligned into for the reason. And you can, of course, use DNSVis. Please do, it is beautiful, but it also does not cover all your needs. There is one more thing. I tried to implement some validation into the KDIC, which would enable you to, by simple DIC commands, validate something. The output is really educative, but it also does not have to catch it all. But and the biggest issue is that it's work in progress. So it's not yet usable, but you can try out our demo, which we prepared on that website. And I also would like to ask you if you know about any other validation tool that would be focused on the single delegation. That means it would query all the name servers of the parent, all the name servers on the child, and really verify that everything is correct in the delegation and focus on that. Do you need such tool, or do you want to start a new tool to emerge in this field? This is my question. So thank you all. I didn't make it in time, but yeah, I expect some question. We have probably some minutes for that.
Hi, Libor. Thanks for the talk. I just wonder if I got it right. You use dbus to signal to the validation script, but
Yes.
the return has to be done with the .c utility,
Yes.
not with dbus.
Yes.
Any certain reason why not using dbus in both directions?
the simplicity for now. It would be also possible, but yeah, I had some implementation null reasons for this. But anyway, the dbus is not the only thing that could be used for this. It's just it's just the first version. That's the point.
And with the dbus, so if the daemon on the other side is not running, the validation daemon, does Node get anyhow feedback if the dbus signal was received and processed, or is it just
not yet? But the point is that the Node DNS will not receive any feedback which prevents it from going further, like falsely accept the validation when the other daemon did not respond at all. There is some configurable timeout when the validator does not respond at all, then the validation is considered false, like rejected.
Okay, thanks.
David Redekop with Atom Networks. I don't know if that was on purpose, but if it is, it's very good. Output is wrong output. That's very clever.
Which slide?
The last word there. Prettiness of output matters.
Yes, it means that the validation tool should produce an output that is pretty to learn, ready to read, and educative enough.
Yes, I'm referring to the spelling of output. It's so clever that we all missed it.
Okay.
And also to say thank you. I always replace dig with kdig. Thanks to you.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Tamás PCH. My question is that have you considered using like a similar model, like forking like a demo, forking like a process similar to like an SD? That is one question. The other one is like, is only dbus the? If someone doesn't want dbus, then is there like another solution?
Yeah, for now, this is the first version of the external validation feature in the Node DNS. So we choose dbus for now because we already have this facility of sending dbus messages to an external script. It was before established for another purpose, like notifying external tools of something going on in the server. This is the reason for dbus, but for the future, it does not really have to be the only option. Regarding the first question, forking is a unique feature of NSD. We are not planning to mimic this behavior. But what I thought about would be during the external validation process is taking place, maybe Node would be able to listen on different ports and answer already from the new zone, which means the zone that is not yet validated, just for the tool to be able to already query the new zone before it's validated.
Thanks.
Keep the question very short. Yeah. Hi, Arya Khanna from NLNet Labs. So you mentioned that NOT has a DNSSEC validation, an inbuilt validation option, but if it's also doing the signing, does anybody actually trust that? Because from what I understand, people want to use different implementations because they want to make sure that there's no one implementation.
Well, this is the issue. So if the operator is using a different software for signing, for example, bind, then it makes perfect sense to use Node DNS as a validator. If it also signed with Node DNS, unfortunately, there is not the option. I hope bind guys will also implement something like that so that we can validate like this, or they can use different tools using the external validation feature.
Thanks.
Right. Hi. Well, who to ask for testing, but we are running for .ua, we're running not in production. We use the bump in the wire. Can you please show me the slide when you have the pipeline? I think it's the very first one. It was really, when it's like 6 ovals. Yeah, is HM standing for my company? Well, no, but I mean, here is the point. You have two validator things. Have you thought maybe both potentially can be used? If you're going to write this DNS validator tool, and I guess you're going to, because I don't know such tool off my head.
What tool?
Zone check, the validator tool. Maybe it's good to implement it in both steps before the bump in the wire signing and after. Imagine a situation when it's immediately signing that by loader, because you can do the NOT, right? We use NOT bump in the wire, but you can also, we use one instance of NOT which has bump in the wire, one instance of NOT which does immediate zone building and zone signing. So the validator can be used in both cases. So the policy matters may be partially implemented in such tool. Not everything, but like you mentioned.
Yeah, maybe.
Change of zone
Yeah.
record counts, that's just similar metric, right?
Yeah,
if
I
it's
said-
more than 10% change, it's dangerous.
I said at the beginning that does not really need to look exactly like I described, but yeah.
Yeah, just saying that I support the idea of the validator tool. I'm just saying it can be used more than one place, even if it's visible in the diagram. And I guess it can also be used by some other architecture without NOT, right? Just external query. And yes, it's probably better to query host port number. And please start to think about not dbus, but something else that we can use on FreeBSD
Yeah, okay,
or people who don't
maybe
like
we can-
dbus.
we can-
But then,